In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I built a successful six-figure marketing agency over the last 6 years. So my journey started back when I was 16, 17 years old. I'm now currently 22 years, and to be honest, what a journey it's been. And today I just basically want to share with you some of my highs, some of my lows, and basically how I got to where I am right now with my agency, Social Optimum. So I'll be diving straight into that throughout today's video and just a bit more about my journey really and how I got started in the agency space, you know, the kind of courses, the kind of mentorships I went through to get to where I am right now. So let's take it back to when I was 16 years of age. And to be honest, I could probably take it back a few years before that. Back when I was probably around 13 years old, 14 years old, I was a bit of an entrepreneur. Back then, I was trying to find some way to make money at the age of 13, 14. You know, I come from a middle class family. You know, they have money, but realistically, you know, I wasn't getting money left, right, and center. You know, we weren't the wealthiest family, but at the end of the day, we weren't the poorest family. But anyway, let me take you back to when I was 13. You know, a lot of my friends, they would get pocket money. And back then, I wasn't getting any money from my family. So I actually started doing a lot of buying and selling in the trainers industry. So, you know, Yeezys back then, they were quite a big thing, very popular. And the fact that I lived in London was a huge advantage because a lot of these shoe releases, a lot of these new Yeezys that were coming out, these rare shoes, they were being released in stores throughout London. So literally back then at the age of 13, 15, a group of my friends and I, we would literally sleep throughout the night in a little tent outside the street on the streets of London queuing to get these rare shoes. So I've got some pictures, I can drop some pictures below, but these were the kind of shoes that we were going after. This was literally what I was doing at the age of 13, 15. I was buying and selling shoes. You know, these were rare shoes. People would literally queue overnight just for these shoes. And then the next day, I'll be able to resell them for around 1,000 to 1,500. You know, I made a huge profit margin. I was literally buying them for, I think back then around £200, £300, and they were selling for upwards of 1,000. So it's just crazy to think about the hype of the Yeezys back then. You know, I started then getting into sort of clothing as well, buying and selling clothing, selling other shoes, you know, such as Jordans, for example. And this was just a great way of me making some initial money. But to be honest, back then I was never looking after my money. All the money I was earning, I was just spending it. So I didn't really save any money up. I got to the age of around 15, 16, and that's when I realized I've got to make a change in my life because at the age of 16, I was studying for GCSEs because I grew up in UK. So GCSEs, you know, you're going through exams. After GCSEs, that usually gets you into either college or sort of like upper school. I hated GCSEs. I literally couldn't stand education. You know, it was never for me. I realized probably from the age of 13 that I never ever wanted to work for anyone. I generally never wanted to work for a company or have anyone managing me. Literally everyone knew me as the naughty kid back in school. Like I remember there'd be days where I'd just be getting thrown out of class because I didn't agree with what the teacher was saying. And to be frank, I just didn't like any of the subjects I was doing in school. All I cared about was business and making money and somehow starting a business. Even back then at the age of 14, 15, I had the idea of starting an events company. I wanted to start like a little nightclub events company with a friend at the time. We basically wanted to hire out venues. You know, even for 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, these are like little discos. We wanted to hire out halls, hire out venues and put on these events, 10, 20 pound tickets, get a few hundred people coming, and that's a few £1,000 profit. So that's something I wanted to do. We had it in the clockwork for a few months, for a year. Didn't really get anywhere with it. You know, I was a bit too young. I didn't really understand about licensing, getting venues, etc. So it wasn't really for me, but I still always had that in the back of my head. Always wanted to start something. So around the age of 16, 17, when I was starting my GCSEs, you know, I completely flopped. I failed all my exams. I'm pretty sure I have screenshots of that as well. I didn't revise for any of my exams. I couldn't care less really. And to be honest, the school that I was in at the time, I knew they didn't want me in their school anymore. You know, education wasn't for me. The teachers didn't want me there. The headmaster didn't want me there. I just wasn't one for education. So then after failing all of my exams at GCSE level, I obviously had to leave that school. They didn't want to keep me. So I basically left. I had the whole summer to rethink what I wanted to do basically. And that's where the agency space came about. I saw a lot of people in the online space preaching about how to start a marketing agency. And I realized this could be something for me. You know, I was always quite fond of marketing anyway. You know, even when it came to just advertising the shoes, advertising the clothing, even when it came to starting that events company, content out, you know, back when I was 15, 16, back in school, I was actually doing photography anyways. You know, I wasn't enjoying geography, maths, English, anything like that. Completely hated it. But anyway, fast forward, we get to summer, you know, I just left the school. I've basically been kicked out, failed all my exams. That summer, that's where I came across marketing. I came across the SMMA space. I came across some of these gurus online preaching to start a marketing agency. And to be honest, back then I was quite diverted on my decision whether to go into affiliate marketing or to go into drop shipping. A lot of these people on YouTube and online back then in 2018 were literally preaching on starting, you know, a drop shipping business, an affiliate marketing business, or getting into the marketing agency space, which wasn't as big back then. Now, I'm pretty sure sure some of the big names I remember were like Ty Lopez, but apart from that, I don't really remember anyone in the SMA space until a year later, which I'll get into in a minute. But basically, I realized marketing agency space, this was something I was quite fond of. This could be something for me. So back then, 16, just about turned 17, I got started. So if I recall, it was around October 2017 when I started first hearing about sort of the SMA space, the marketing agency space. Like I said, there wasn't any big names in the industry. So I realized this is a great opportunity. It's something I should definitely get involved in. So I basically spent that whole summer after failing my GCSEs learning a bit more about the agency space. And then eventually it got to the end of summer and I had to decide whether I was going to college or going to another school. But unfortunately, my parents didn't let me drop out of school. I told them I want to start this marketing agency, but they told me, Matty, you have no proof. But that being said, nearing the end of summer, that's when I opened up my company, Social Optimum. So I remember the date, 12th of June, 2018. I literally opened up Social Optimum, registered it on Company's House. I'm pretty sure I have some screenshots. I'll drop them below. As you can see, I was literally over the moon. I started the company. I'd finally got it all registered and that was it. I was going to start Social Optimum. So that was back then, 12th of June, 2018. It's crazy to think about it. It's been well over 6 years now, but that's the date when I started the company and got it up and running. A few months later, I obviously had to join college. So when I arrived at college, I then had to choose 3 subjects that I was going to study for A-levels. In the UK, if you're watching this, you're not from the UK, basically you do your GCSEs to get yourself into upper school, college, and then you have to do A-levels. So you do A-levels at around the age of 17 to 18 years old, I think going on to 19, and then you eventually get into university. So if you get good enough A-levels, then you're allowed into a university, and you obviously work on university for the next 3 to 4 years, 5 years, whatever it may be. So in my head, as you know, I really didn't want to start college. I didn't even want to go on to university. So I thought, what the hell is the point of doing 2 years of college when all I want to do is start my own business? So at the time, I chose to study business, media studies, and graphic design. They were the 3 subjects I chose. Honestly, a month went by and I was like, this is not for me. The same thing happened at this college. Teachers hated me. I wasn't paying any attention. I wasn't doing any of my homework. And to be honest, I just wasn't focusing in class. I'm pretty sure I've got some funny emails that the teachers sent my parents, but I'll drop them below, some screenshots. But as you can see, college wasn't for me. I was so focused on starting Social Optimum, starting my agency, that I wasn't spending any time on college. Literally, every single hour of the day was invested into learning about marketing, invested in learning about the SMA space. Honestly, months went by with the agency. I wasn't really getting anywhere. I was always procrastinating. I wasn't really taking any action. And to be fair, I wasn't doing anything about outreach. I was doing outreach here and there, wasn't really paying attention. I was so focused on setting up a website. I'm pretty sure I've got some videos, some screenshots of me creating my website, getting all excited. But at the end of the day, all my focus was on creating the website, creating a cool onboarding funnel, all this BS that really wasn't necessary and wasn't actually getting me to where I wanted to be with my agency. So months went by, I wasn't getting anywhere until I basically got diverted with the agency. I actually met someone in my business studies class in college. Basically, he wanted to start an events business. And as you know, back when I was 15, 16, that was my passion. I really wanted to start a nightclub business, an events business, and that's generally what I was passionate about. So I met this individual. Funny enough, his dad managed a big time artist called Giggs, who's a massive rap artist in the UK. And he had some major connections, which made me realize with sort of my marketing passion and sort of at the time I'd been building up my socials. Like I had a pretty big social media account. And to be honest, I had quite a big following on Instagram just for my personal account. A lot of people follow me at the time. I'm just talking about girls that I met at parties. I was quite the social person. So I realized I had quite a big audience. So if I did start an events business now, with him and we could run these big nightclub events, I could probably get quite a lot of people coming to the events just from my Instagram. So it made me realize this was a huge opportunity. I've always wanted to start an events business and we basically got stuck into it. We called it MXT Events. So we named it after my name, M standing for Matty. And then my business partner, his name was Taylor. So it was called MXT standing for Matty and Taylor. We got started. This was the first few months of college. We literally started going around college with flyers, with posters, promoting our events. I'm pretty sure I've got some screenshots and videos which I'll drop in as well. So yeah, as you can see, we were literally going around college, printing out these flyers, putting them around everywhere, left, right and center, literally going into windows of classrooms. I remember being with him at the station of our college, literally handing out flyers. I have a funny screenshot of one girl getting frustrated. I'll drop that below. But this literally shows how passionate we were about starting this events company. And eventually we got to one of our first events. We basically hired out a venue in London. It was called O2 Academy. If you're from the UK, you probably know O2 Academy. A lot of these big artists hire it out for concerts, etc. So what we didn't want this events company being was just a nightclub events company. We wanted to entail it with something else. So we basically had some of these top artists that would come to the events and they would perform on stage. So as you can see from this video below, one of our first events, we hired a very famous rap artist called Sneakbo. If you're from the UK, you probably know who Sneakbo is. He works alongside Giggs. He's done some big time songs. So we had him perform at one of our events, but as you can see, I was very young back then, excited to throw one of my first events. Let me drop that below. So yeah, that was my first big success. You know, my first event, I was very excited. And to be honest, as you know, this was my passion. Like literally from the age of 15, I always wanted to start an events business. I don't know what it was. I just enjoyed being on stage and seeing all these people in the crowd come literally for our event that we've created and set up. So it was a big passion of mine. You know, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the setup of running these events, even the marketing side of things. And that made me realize, you know, on the side of my marketing agency, I was going to have an events business. And that's what I was passionate about. So I realized this is what I'm going to be doing for the next few years until COVID came about. You know, COVID completely screwed up the whole events business. People weren't even allowed out of their homes, never mind going to a concert or an event. So that was out of the cards. The events business went to shit. But then to be honest, I got stuck into my agency and that's where I started to see a lot of success. So a few months went by in summer, you know, I was trying to learn as much as I could about the marketing space in general. And funny enough, this is a crazy story. A lot of you wouldn't believe it, but a friend of mine that I used to go to the gym with in Fulham, we used to go to David Lloyd's together back in London, and his name was Mr. Charles Knight. He introduced me to Iman Gadzi, and that's where I sort of fell in love with what he was doing in terms of the agency space, the whole SMMA industry. You know, back then, literally when I was introduced to Iman had probably 60,000 followers. You know, you look at him now, he's got over 1 million followers on Instagram. You know, he hadn't even got into the course business yet. He wasn't even selling any courses on his agency, but I was basically introduced to him at the time of when he was running his marketing agency. I'm pretty sure he was a year above me. I was 17 at the time, he was 18. But anyway, we were going to the same gym together in Fulham, David Lloyd's, and a few months went by and Iman actually started creating content about his marketing agency, which I sort of started to follow, and eventually he got to the stage where he created his first course. I'm pretty sure it was called Six Figure SMA at the time, or it was called Agency Incubator or Agency Navigator. I can't remember what he named it, but I'm pretty sure it was Six Figure SMA. That was his first ever course. So this was literally back in, I recall, 2018. So I basically enrolled in this course back then. I went through a lot of the course. You know, months went by throughout summer. I was sort of diving into that. You know, that was all well and great. I definitely loved the course on how to actually build an agency. But then again, I don't think it went into depth enough on how to actually sign clients when you've never worked with anyone. And that's what I really struggled with. So, you know, a few months went by, I kind of got distracted by the agency space. I kind of started procrastinating. But months went by, I was trying to learn as much as I could about the SMA space, agency space in general, you know, just marketing as a whole. I was literally spending a lot of my time in the course trying to learn as much as I could, but also just YouTube videos, watching online videos on marketing as well as a whole, because I generally believed, you know, it wasn't enough just to outsource from the beginning. I really wanted to learn service delivery. I wanted to learn everything in depth. So I was confident going on these sales calls. But then again, I was just procrastinating. I spent so long building up a website, so long trying to build up social media channels, that I wasn't spending any time actually doing any outreach. And that's why a lot of agencies fail, to be honest. That's why a lot of these individuals getting into the marketing space, they spend so much time building a perfect onboarding funnel, building a client Bible, and that's why they don't get anywhere with their agency. So let me rewind a bit, but after a few months of me running the events business and also getting stuck in with my agency, you know, I realized college was not for me, and that's where I basically dropped out. I'm pretty sure I also have some screenshots. I remember the date very well. It was the 11th of December, 2018. So my birthday's in November, so I would have just turned 17. So technically, I was a 17-year-old college dropout, and I was going all in on my marketing agency and all in on the events business. So that was that. You know, finally, I remember waking up. It was an amazing feeling, to be honest. Like literally waking up the next day knowing that no one's ever going to tell me what to do. That was the best feeling ever, because, you know, I was in college literally learning business from a guy that literally drove to school in a Ford Fiesta. Like, why the fuck do I want to learn business from someone that clearly has never done anything in business in their life? You know, it just made me realize college is not for me. I'm getting the hell out of there. So that was that. And just to be clear, I don't want to be that dick that says education's not for everyone. You know, I've got some friends, even now, who are in university currently. They're studying for law. You know, there's certain industries in life where you generally do need a university degree. So I'm not totally against education, but to be frank, if you just want to start a business, or if you want to go into a certain industry that doesn't rely on having a university degree, the best thing you can do is drop out of school, drop out of education, and just go get some first-hand experience. And that's literally what I did. A few months went down the line of me running my agency. I wasn't really getting anywhere. I was signing a few clients here and there, but I realized I can't maintain these clients. I generally don't know how to deliver an A1 service. So I literally unraveled everything. I lost all of those clients. Literally nearly a whole year went by after me dropping out of college. You know, I was getting clients here and there, but again, I wasn't able to deliver for these clients. I didn't understand service delivery enough in depth. And to be honest, there wasn't many courses online. A lot of these YouTube videos, you got to understand when it comes to service delivery, every month there's changes. Especially in the marketing space, a lot of these channels, there's changes, you have to adapt. You know, strategies that worked maybe 6 months ago is not going to work in the present moment. So I realized that, and I had to do something about it. So then if we fast forward basically a year after me dropping out of college, I then actually joined up with a company in London. They were a design and build company. They were looking for someone in the marketing industry to come help them with their advertising and with their marketing as a whole. And I realized this was a great opportunity. I was 17 at the time and I wanted to get some experience in marketing. I realized just learning from some videos online, learning from some courses I bought into, that is not enough. That's just not going to cut it. And that was the truth. I realized I needed to actually get some first-hand experience and either dive into a company and manage their marketing and get a bit more understanding of advertising and email marketing, paid ads, whatever it was. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to know all the ins and the outs. And to be honest, I was struggling to find a company that would take me on. A lot of these companies, unfortunately, they want to take on someone with a marketing degree. These are companies that want employees that have a degree in this, have a degree in that. So I was really struggling to find a company that would actually take a 17-year-old high school dropout. Until, fortunately enough, I came across one company. They were called NU Projects. They were a design and build company based in London, in Fulham. And to be honest, what they were doing was amazing. I could see they had their content on point. They clearly understood the social media world. And a lot of companies back then, in 2018, they weren't really about the social media trend. People weren't really staying on top of content. But this company, NU Projects, I ended up joining up with, they knew everything about social media. The guy that was running the company, Nick, I remember very fondly. I worked with them literally for a whole year. I was basically helping them with all their advertising. I took so much knowledge that no one would be able to find online. I took so much first-hand experience just from being in that company for a year, learning all the ins and outs of marketing, and that literally propelled my agency. But yeah, I was very lucky. The business owner, he took me on. To be honest, I think I have a few videos of when I got started with him. He was very big on YouTube. He loved content. He loved social media. I remember him talking about me fondly because honestly, I think he just loved my energy. He loved sort of what I was doing with the events business. He could see I was a bit of a young entrepreneur. And that's generally why he took me on. He didn't take me on because I had a marketing degree. He didn't take me on because I had any marketing experience. He generally just took me on because he literally saw a young entrepreneur in me. But yeah, I was very fortunate. I'm very glad that I actually did that for a year because I learned so much. I learned all the ins and outs of marketing. I just learned business as a whole. And I was very fortunate to work closely with Nick. He was a business owner that's been around for the last 25 years. And then fast forward a year into my journey working with that company, I then realized, that's where I wanted to actually get Social Optimum back up and running and start running my own marketing agency. I told him that I wanted to leave the company and start doing my agency thing again by myself. And he generally didn't want me to leave. He instead proposed that we start a marketing agency together. So the next thing I know, I had this new marketing company with the owner of this company, and we ended up calling it NU Digital. And we literally used the office. I'm pretty sure I have some photos of me outside the office. I was all suited and booted, very excited to have an office, to have a marketing agency with this co-founder, with someone that's obviously experienced, someone that actually knows how to run a business. And again, I have some content, I have some videos of literally me creating content for NU Digital, which was our marketing agency at the time, trying to create some content for our new company, for our new agency to start attracting some clients. But as you can see, we're building up NU Digital. This was our new marketing agency. This was something he was doing on the side, but I was going to be managing. He was sort of the silent co-founder, but I was going to be the one actually leading the marketing company because sort of I had all the ins and outs. Because obviously I understand marketing a bit more than him now at this point. I'd been running his ads for about a year. I was getting them successful results. They were a design and build company, so bear in mind I was literally attracting very wealthy clients in London. These are properties that are worth, 2-3 million. I was bringing in leads for him for basement jobs. Some of these basement jobs would literally cost $500,000 to do. And to be honest, looking back at it now, I wish I had some sort of commission structure in place because I was literally bringing in leads for him. Some of these loft conversions would also cost £200,000 to do in London. I was bringing in all these high quality leads for the business, all through my ads. So back to me starting the marketing agency with him. A few months went past. I was literally signing clients left, right, and center. I looked like a big time marketing agency. I now have my own office. I had all this content going out and we were signing clients. However, a few months went by and it made me realize he was literally taking 50% of profits for doing nothing. Yes, I understand, I had the office, he was paying for those expenses. I had this new brand name, NU Digital. It was all under his branding. And that's why he's taking 50%, but I was literally doing all the work. I was literally putting blood, sweat, and tears into running this agency when he wasn't really doing any work. And it also made me realize I never started a marketing agency in the first place so I could have an office. I literally started the agency also because I wanted to have time freedom and to be able to travel the world. So I did get a bit stuck up in that moment. I was 17, I was excited, I had this new agency, I had an office in London, it seemed great at the time. But then I realized, he was taking 50% and I was literally doing all the work. So a few months went by. Unfortunately, we terminated that partnership. And that's where I literally got Social Optimum back up and running. But to this day, I still have huge respect for Nick, for bringing me on in the first place at the very beginning when I was only 17 with no experience. And, what a journey it had been. I'd been through Ups and downs, it'd been quite a roller coaster ride already, and to be honest, we hadn't even got to where I wanted to be. After a crazy journey the previous year or two, it was finally time to get Social Optimum back up and running, and that's where the agency really started to go to the next level. I was finally full-time on the agency, fully dedicated to it. I wasn't really involved in the events business as much anymore. COVID eventually came about, so the events business just vanished anyway. So all my focus was on the agency, and that's where I started to get my head down. I had a bit of income finally coming in, so it was time to finally move out of my family's home. I moved into an apartment in London, and I literally put my full focus on the agency. It was time to finally go all in on the marketing agency space. A lot of people were finally getting into the SMA space. Aman eventually, now at this time, he was getting a bit bigger. A lot of people were joining the agency space left, right, and center. All these other gurus were coming out with courses, how to start an agency. So it was definitely becoming a bit saturated. But that being said, I had experience now, understood service delivery in depth, and I finally understood marketing as a whole, and I just understood the language. And that's what's important, because a lot of individuals, they come into the marketing agency space thinking it's a get rich quick scheme. They literally want to get to 10K a month within 30 days, but they don't spend any time actually learning service delivery. For example, I've been in these courses now, for 6 years. I see everything. If you're watching this right now, I could probably literally read you. I probably was you back when I was 16, 17, because I've been through that. I procrastinated, I put a focus on the wrong things, I didn't actually focus on income producing activities, and I just didn't get anywhere. I was literally in a recurring cycle. I wasn't getting anywhere at the agency until I took that leap, and I finally went all in on Social Optimum, put a full focus on it, left home, moved into my own apartment, and just started to finally focus on income producing activities that were actually going to get my agency somewhere. And you have to understand, I now had that experience. I'd worked in a company for a year. I understood everything about marketing. I spent a lot of time with trial and error, because that's what you got to understand about the marketing space. A lot of it is trial and error at the very beginning. But what you need to understand is you need to just put yourself out there. What you can't do is just outsource everything and expect to be that business owner that's just going to oversee everything. You still need to understand marketing. And that's something I can't stress enough. If you're watching this now and you're just getting started in the agency space, go and learn what you're actually going to be delivering on. And that's literally why I did what I did, because I wanted to understand everything. Nowadays we're in 2024, you can literally buy a course, invest into a mentor, whatever it may be, to start learning service delivery. You need to understand it in depth before you outsource. Yes, that being said, I'm at the position now with my agency where we're a 6-figure agency and I have a massive team behind me. I can oversee everything. I can actually work outside the business, not in it. But when you're getting started, you can't look at the agency space as this outsourced business where you're going to find some contractors, they're going to do all the work, and you're just going to relax on the beach in Bali. That's just not going to happen. You can get to that point eventually. That's something that I do at the moment. I've spent the last few years traveling. I take my laptop everywhere I go. I try to stay in a different country every 3 months now and again, just to be in a new environment. Yes, I may be that type of guy that's got my laptop on the beach and I'm working on the beach. But then again, I do like to have an office space. I like to be in an apartment to put my focus on the agency and building up my team and making sure that we're delivering an A1 service for our clients, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Building an established agency. A lot of people watching this now, a lot of people that watch my content on Instagram, they don't try building an established agency that's actually going to be around for the next 5-10 years. And that's literally what I've been doing over the last few years. Building an agency that delivers an A1 service to our clients, but also an agency that's going to be around for the next 10-15 years. I'm 22 years of age. I love working remotely. I love having my team work remote as well. Maybe when I got family and kids, I'll get a big time office in London, wherever it may be, and I'll have my team with me. But at the moment, I enjoy running my agency remote. So yeah, what a journey it's been. Honestly, I'm literally currently in Australia renting an apartment here in Melbourne. The last 3 months I've been living in Bali with 6 other agency owners. It's just crazy to think, like, a lot of the people I hang around with nowadays, they're running an agency or running a business, but they're late 20s, early 30s. I'm 22 years of age. I've still got a long way to go, and that's literally why I'm going to start documenting my journey a lot more on YouTube, on my Instagram, Matty Digital UK. I want to start documenting what I'm getting up to in my agency, because at the end of the day, a lot of these gurus, a lot of these YouTubers, they're not actively running an agency. And that's something I want to be transparent with you on, because a lot of individuals, when you're getting started now in 2024, the industry is not the same as to how it was back in 2018. When a lot of these gurus started, a lot of the videos they create in their course, they're literally videos on how they started an agency back in 2018, but it's not actually going to work in 2024. So that's something that I can't stress enough. If you are running an agency or you're just getting started in the SMA space, please choose the right mentors, choose the right courses, make sure you're taking the information that's actually updated in 2024, because that's what's going to propel your agency. And again, I can't stress it enough. Be in this for the long run. You want to be in this for the long run. You want to build a cash flow business that's going to be around for the next 5-10 years. You know, don't be in this for the short term. You know, this is a serious business model. As you can see, I've been literally running an agency for 6 years now. I wouldn't have got to the point where I've built this agency to 6 figures if I didn't put the work in and I didn't build an established agency. So honestly, I hope this video gives you some motivation, because, you know, when I started at 16, 17, honestly, I wouldn't really believe right now at the age of 22, I'd be traveling the world, running a successful 6-figure agency, and to be honest, just living in apartments like this. Like, for me, that's just crazy to think about. Yes, when I first moved into my apartment in London at 18, I started to see the vision, but at 16, 17, honestly, I did not see the vision. So if you're just getting started, you're young, you're in school, put the work in, you know, make it happen. I'm not saying you have to drop out of college tomorrow. You know, I think if you're in the position where you're not really interested in college, you're not interested in school, make sure you put the work in on your agency on the side. And eventually when you get your first client, you get your first few clients, you get a bit of income coming in, then eventually you can tell your parents, you know, look, I'm making it work. This is what I want to put my focus on. So please don't watch this video and think you can just drop out of school and suddenly run a 6-figure agency, because it's not going to happen. You're going to have to put the work in. You know, it literally took me blood, sweat and tears. I went through highs, I went through lows. You know, with my agency career, I've been at the lowest moments. I remember dropping out of college. Those months were not easy. You know, those years of not being in school, not being told what to do, they were not easy. Can you imagine waking up every single day and not having anyone tell you what to do? You know, especially at the age of 17, you have to be strong enough. It's not easy. And I'm telling you, if you want to get into the agency space, you want to be an entrepreneur, you know, it's not going to be an easy ride. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I didn't go through these low moments. You've got to go through the bad days to have good days. And I'm telling you that now. If you're getting started in the agency space, doesn't matter what business model you're getting into, you know, you're a young entrepreneur, you want to get financial freedom, you're going to have to put blood, sweat and tears into this. So if you're just getting started in the agency space, go give me a follow on my Instagram, Matty Digital UK, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Drop in the comments below any videos you want to see next. As always, please sub to the channel, like the video, and I look forward to seeing you soon.